Hey guys, Sean here. Welcome to the F1 Word and to my Monaco Grand Prix review. Now, it wasn't the most exciting race we've seen around Monaco, but to be fair, it wasn't the worst race that we've seen in the Principality. The Grand Prix is receiving a lot of criticism. We're going to come onto that a little bit later in the video. But first, as we always do in these videos, let's start by having a look at the race winner and taking his second victory of the season. And his first in Monaco was Daniel Ricciardo. Early on in the race, he suffered an MGU-K failure, which, according to Christian Horner, saw him down on power by 25%. And on top of that, he had to manage brake issues. The Red Bull boss saying that they were close to catching fire and they almost retired the car, with Daniel Ricciardo confirming that he was using just 6 of his 8 gears during the race. So a very good drive to fend off the likes of Sebastian Vettel and Lewis Hamilton, but it is Monaco, and that Red Bull is by far the best through the corners. So it just appeared to be a case of making sure he got the cornering right to build the gap so that he didn't lose out on the straights. And although the race was pretty much run at crawling pace for the majority, Daniel Ricciardo still deserves a lot of credit for what he had to manage during that Grand Prix. Running through the rest of the race result then, and Sebastian Vettel came home in second place with Lewis Hamilton taking the final podium spot for third. Kimi Raikkonen brought his Ferrari home in fourth place just ahead of Valtteri Bottas in the second Mercedes. Esteban Ocon started 6th and finished 6th for his best result of the year by a long way. Pierre Gasly came home in 7th, having started 10th. Nico Hülkenberg, my one to watch of course for the race, went from 11th to 8th. Max Verstappen, we'll talk about him properly, went from 20th to 9th, a very good recovery from him, and did pretty much all the overtaking during the race. And Carlos Sainz took the final point for 10th. Marcus Ericsson finished in 11th place ahead of Sergio Perez in the second Force India. Kevin Magnussen in 13th with Grosjean in 15th. A very disappointing weekend for Haas. Just not on the pace at all this weekend, and as you can see there, Stoffel Van Dorn sandwiched between them in 14th. It was another miserable weekend for Williams' Sergei Sirotkin in 16th. He received a 10-second stop-go penalty during the race after the team failed to get the tyres fitted to the car by the 3-minute warning on the grid. Now that was caused, according to Williams, by a cross-threaded wheel nut. But still, it was a team error. It was not Sirotkin's fault at all. That stop-go penalty completely ruined his race, but he did still finish ahead of his teammate, who was beyond dire this weekend, quite frankly. Pretty much from the off on Thursday, did nothing but moan over team radio, and at one point even asked the question, why even bother racing anymore? Not a good weekend. And just 3 cars failed to finish the Monaco Grand Prix this year. Leclerc and Hartley were both classified 18th and 19th, but they crashed out, and as far as I'm concerned, that means they didn't finish the race. And Fernando Alonso had a gearbox issue, and that led to his DNF. There are a few talking points from the race, not a huge number, but we'll kick it off with Max Verstappen, who started 20th on the grid, of course, courtesy of that crash in FP3, which led to him not being able to take part in qualifying and also him needing a gearbox change. To be honest, he was pretty aggressive from the get-go. Soon managed to dispatch Romain Grosjean and Kevin Magnussen, and he made some good, aggressive and clean overtakes. There was one overtake that some might argue wasn't particularly clean, and that was the pass at the Nouvelle chicane on Carlos Sainz. The Dutchman went around the outside of the Renault and then did cut the corner, but rejoined over the sausage curb and kept his position. But there was another incident before that when Verstappen went down the inside of Carlos Sainz at the same corner and the Spaniard cut the Nouvelle chicane, keeping his position. So for me, the stewards made the right decision, no penalty for either, 6 of one, half a dozen of the other, and it pretty much worked out how it should have done. The strategy kind of worked for him as well. He ran very long on the ultra soft tyres, which allowed him to put the hyper softs towards the end, but his progress was stunted when he came across Nico Hülkenberg, who had also recently changed tyres, and that was pretty much it from there. But I have to say, he's not getting a lot of credit for that drive. I understand why he's getting the criticism for the incident in FP3, absolutely get that. But people are sort of coming out and saying, oh yeah, he did it from the back of the grid with the fastest car. Absolutely, completely agree. However, it's Monaco. He's still got to make those moves around a very tight street circuit, moves that nobody else was able to make. And okay, as I said there, it was the fastest car, he was against much slower cars. But he still deserves credit for gaining 11 positions. But as I said in yesterday's race debrief, everyone is very quick to jump on the bandwagon of hate for some drivers, not just Verstappen, there are others as well, but they're never willing to offer praise or give a driver credit when they do a good job. I think we can all agree though that even if you are a big Verstappen fan or you really dislike him, he is definitely a driver under pressure and he's got to deliver in Canada. He needs a faultless weekend. But it wasn't just Max Verstappen that has faced a lot of criticism. The Monaco Grand Prix itself has also taken quite a hit, particularly from Lewis Hamilton and Fernando Alonso. As I said towards the start of the video, a lot of fans and TV pundits as well feel that the race was massively boring and were highly critical of the Grand Prix. And that has been echoed by Lewis Hamilton, the 4-time world champion, said, "We were just cruising around from lap 6, literally cruising. So it wasn't really racing. If that was exciting for you to watch, no problem. It's got the biggest build-up. It's the most special race of the year. I was thinking, it's just a shame that this race isn't as exciting as the whole spectacle and the track is." He then offered some of his ideas and opinions on what could be done to improve the weekend, with Hamilton continuing, "Maybe it's got to be a different format or something here. It's got to be more mixed up things. You look at NASCAR. They put in a bunch of safety cars for no reason at all to bunch the pack up. There's like 100 yellow flags in the race to bring them all together. Maybe we need 2 races here. Who knows? That was the longest 78 laps ever. It was long. I said to Prince Albert the other day, maybe it's time to make the track longer. We are doing 1-minute 11s around here. There's more roads. Do we change this great track and make it even better?" And Lewis Hamilton's opinion on the race was echoed by Fernando Alonso, who simply said, "Extremely boring. This is probably the most boring race ever." There were just 3 retirements from this year's race. Fernando Alonso, as I said earlier, with a gearbox issue. But the big one was Brendan Hartley and Charles Leclerc, a huge crash down at the Nouvelle chicane. As the result of a brake failure on his Sauber, Charles Leclerc simply could not slow his car down, obviously, and ploughed straight into the back of Brendan Hartley. That put both drivers out and saw the virtual safety car deployed. When I saw that incident, I got the feeling they'd go full course, but the marshals at Monaco are so good at what they do, so they only needed the virtual one this time. According to Brendan Hartley, Charles Leclerc did approach him to apologise for the incident, and the stewards did also investigate it but chose to take no action, as they agreed that the accident was caused by a technical failure and the driver was not at fault. The only way that decision could ever go. We've already talked about the race winner Daniel Ricciardo, but I do just want to briefly mention Sebastian Vettel. Despite the Red Bull's issues, the German could not get anywhere near him and never really looked like challenging for the win. And when he was asked about why this was after the Grand Prix, Sebastian Vettel said, "As soon as I got too close or closer, then I struggled to stay there and never got in range, especially at the exit of the tunnel. Obviously, if you get closer, it doesn't help with your tyres. In some corners, you don't really need power, and Ricciardo was quicker than us. He was always able to open a gap, and I was never really there. Unfortunately, there weren't many chances to do something different. I think it was tricky for us to make the tyres work the right way." After the virtual safety car, it looked as though Sebastian Vettel might get one last shot at trying to steal the victory, but the German quickly dropped back from the Aussie, with the Ferrari driver blaming that on poor tyre warm-up. Now, Daniel Ricciardo was officially driver of the day, and I have to agree with that decision, but I'm going to give an honourable mention to Pierre Gasly. Definitely deserves a shout. He started down in 10th place and managed to get his Toro Rosso to 7th. He ran a very good strategy. And to be perfectly honest, he just looked ready for the fight. He really did look hungry during the race. Particularly when you look at that scrap between him and Alonso before Fernando retired. He is another driver who deserves a lot of credit for his performance. Not only for his race result, but for his weekend as a whole. He was very good in qualifying as well. And of course, it is more big points on the board for him and Toro Rosso. On that note, let's have a look at the championship table, starting with the top 10 in the drivers. Lewis Hamilton remains on top, but his lead has been cut to 14 points by Sebastian Vettel. Daniel Ricciardo jumps up to 3rd with Valtteri Bottas 4th and Kimi Raikkonen 5th. Max Verstappen remains in 6th place. Fernando Alonso, despite not scoring, does stay 7th. But Nico Hülkenberg has closed that gap with his decent result today. He's 8th, Carlos Sainz in 9th, and Kevin Magnussen has dropped to 10th. Mercedes are 22 points clear at the top of the Constructors' Championship from Ferrari. Red Bull sits a comfortable 3rd, I think it's fair to say. Renault extend their lead over McLaren to 6 points. Force India jump up to 6th place following Esteban Ocon's excellent result on Sunday. Toro Rosso move up to 7th with Haas slipping to 8th. Sauber still have 11 points and sit 9th, with Williams propping up the table in 10th and just 4 points on the board. So that is it for the Monaco Grand Prix review. Not an incredible race and not a huge amount to talk about. But what are your thoughts on the 2018 Monaco Grand Prix? Did you find it a little bit boring? Or did you actually quite enjoy the race? Let me know your thoughts in the comment section down below. I will be back tomorrow with another video, but in the meantime, you can follow me on social media. Links to Twitter, Instagram, Facebook, and to Discord are all in the description down below. But as ever, thank you for watching. I've been Sean. This has been the F1 Word, and until next time, goodbye.